All right, this is Brutally Honest Tech, doing a review and guide of Ableton versus FLstudio, which one you should buy, what are the features. So if you're thinking about buying a new DAW, this is probably exactly where you want to be. I've used both of these for quite some time, quite a few years for both of them. FLstudio probably twice as long as Ableton, if not more. So I've seen it evolve, I've seen what it's been. So let's go ahead and talk about the differences. We're going to start with the price. So for Ableton, really the one that you want to be looking at is probably the standard edition or the suite edition. So these are the two prices you want to be looking at. I don't really like the intro one because there's another version that they're not showing on here. The light version that comes with MIDI controllers. It's almost the same as this, except instead of 16 audio MIDI tracks, it's 8. And that's enough because you're able to put multiple VSTs onto one MIDI track and load up different audio files into the same audio track. So it's a little, you can get around certain stuff with just the light version. So there's really no reason in spending $100 for that. It doesn't make any sense. Now, the standard version is probably what I would aim at. If you want all the plugins with Ableton, then the suite version is probably what you want. I like both. Both are fine. If you're going to be using third-party plugins, the standard's probably what you want to aim for. But it's really up to you how much money you really want to drop. So we're going to look at FLstudio. And really this Fruity Edition, the $99 one, don't even bother. Don't even bother with this. This is not what you need. Honestly, this one that says most popular, there's a reason it's most popular. It's because these other versions come with more plugins. This one pretty much has all the features. It just doesn't have all the plugins, which is fine for me because I personally don't like FLstudio's plugins. The ImageLine plugins are not very good. There's only a couple synths that I actually like from ImageLine that I would suggest. Other than that, I don't like any of their effects plugins. None of them. Not one. I can't name one that I don't have an issue with at some point. Okay, so after price, we're going to talk about the performance between both of these. So which one runs a little better on your CPU? So on Ableton, the performance is a lot better. You can load in more stuff. You don't really have too many issues loading in a lot of plugins and running into like a CPU overhead. On FLstudio, I can't really say the same. I don't know if it's just the way that they program their stuff or the features that they have or the way that they I just don't know, but Ableton runs a lot better. So if you have like a low end computer, if you have like a low end laptop or something like that, then you should probably get Ableton just because it's going to run a little cleaner. So then let's talk about automations. So if you wanted to automate something in Ableton, there's a couple ways of doing it. Why isn't it? Okay, whatever. All right, so I'm gonna delete this track really quick so I could just start show you really quick. So say I wanted to automate this knob, right? So I'd have to move it, then I'd have to go down here, click this, and then I can automate from here. So now I can automate it, and this is automated in the tracker window. By default, it's just going to show whatever one you're working on at the time. If you want to see all of them, you have to click that little plus, and it pops it down into the bottom. And so you'll see all of your automations right here on your tracker window. It's okay. It's a little confusing because I don't really work in this tracker window most of the time. I don't know why. I just don't like the tracker window for Ableton. I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm just not used to it, I guess. It's okay. Uh, so over in the other view, so like this view is the view that I normally work in, which is like the clipped view. It's like the performance view. I don't know exactly what it's called, but I usually work in this one because it's like a little bit more streamlined, especially if you have like an Ableton controller. If you have an Ableton controller, then you're mostly going to be working in this view at first when you first start your song, because it's a lot more streamlined. It's a lot more intuitive. You can get things going right away. So in this view, if I wanted to edit the automation, you could put the automation directly into a clip. So you would have to select the clip and then show automation, but then you have to go back to your, actually in this one you have to click down here on this little button. It pops up, and then you can edit the automation in your clip right here. And then you can select what automations you want to view. I kind of like that, but the thing about that is that if you wanted to automate anything in the returns or the master, it's not gonna let you in this view. You have to do everything from this view. So it's kind of unintuitive, I guess, a little bit, because sometimes I want to automate the returns or something in the master, which not very often do I automate anything in the master, but every once in a while there'll be something like an EQ change or something like that. So yeah, so automations, FLstudio, let's look at that. Hold on one second. All right, so automations in FLstudio. You can automate pretty much anything in FLstudio. I actually like FLstudio's tracker window a lot better than Ableton's for a lot of different reasons. You could put things wherever. You could put audio up here, MIDI down here, automation up here. You could layer it. You can put the automation over the stuff. It's actually pretty nice. So if I wanted to automate something, it's a little different. So like if it's just exposed right here, like say if there's this right here, right? I want to automate this little knob. Right click on it, create automation clip. It makes it right here. You can make your edits, do whatever you need to do. It's actually pretty nice. I like it. And then you can move this whole thing around. So like say if you want to copy it and put it on this part of your song again, you can. It's super easy. Ableton, you can do the same thing, but it's not as intuitive. It's not like, oh, you see what you get kind of thing. It's not like that. So if you want to automate, like let's go back to Massive. If I wanted to automate this, I would have to move it. Click this little arrow up here, browse parameters, and it'll bring up all the parameters for your VST. So this is the one, it automatically pops out the little one that you were moving last. I think if you even, like you could see it just selects the one you're moving. So you would right click on that, create automation. Bam. So here we go. Here's your automation for that knob. And you can do that with pretty much everything in FLstudio, even if it's on the master, even if it's on your returns. It doesn't really matter. You can edit it in here, and it's not really gonna be a thing. Also, you can do it. You could do it on the clip also, but it's a little more complicated, I guess you could say, if you're not doing it live. Like if you're not recording you moving the knob, then it's a little different. You have to actually have something in here, and then edit events. So edit events is a little bit different. It's the same thing, it's just the clip version. So it's like if you want it burned into the clip and not like the automation in there, then you would do it through here. But it's more of a pain. It's not as intuitive as just doing it in the tracker. It's probably better just to do it in the tracker. To be honest with you. And that's another thing with FLstudio is that sometimes you'll have the record on and you'll be moving a knob and not even know that you got the record on, and then all of a sudden those edits are, burned into your clip. So you have to like go in there, go to edit. Where is it at? Edit events. Where is it? Oh, see, here it is. Like, where am I even going with that? Is it the piano roll? See, it just gets lost. You have to find those. You have to find those events again. So like, you have to find the event for that and then delete it. So it's kind of a pain, but you'll know it'll be in your clip because you'll see it when you paste the clip in there. So like this this pattern would have like something in the background and it would look like shadowy kind of. You'll see it. So that's a little confusing, but I don't really run into that too often. Just make sure you know when you have record on. That's pretty much it. Okay, so let's go to workflow. So workflow in Ableton, I like a lot better, just because I work in this play clip mode, the performance mode, pretty much. So you can get your ideas out really quick, especially if you have an Ableton controller. You could just press the button, start recording something, press the button again, and it's looping already. Like you don't have to like go through extra steps. Sometimes you would have to like edit the loop, the length of the loop, and that's pretty easy enough. You would just go in here, and you'd be like right here, and you can either do it through here, like you just set this to 4 or set it to 8. And if it's like crazy, like if you got a recording that's like this long and you only want like this middle part, you can just drag this over and just take like that right there, right? So you just want this, you just want to loop this, and then like where you want the loop to start is the second one. So it's just easier, quicker. You don't have to like copy and paste a whole bunch of stuff like in FLstudio. It's kind of like that. Like you kind of have to do more work to get to where you want to be. So a little easier with Ableton. Let's talk about the user interface. So Ableton looks simple, but it's not. There's more options. You can open up more things if you want certain things to be on. Most of your VSTs and stuff go down here. So if you want like any effects, like say I want to add EQ, right? You just drag it down here. You can group these and have like their own. You can macro their own controls to this. You could group your VSTs if you want more than one VST. We want to make a layered instrument or something. You could group these. Add different VSTs. Everything's done right here at the bottom, and then when you double click on things, they pop open like that. And then if you need to get back, you click down here at the bottom right. So you could switch between the two. It's actually pretty nice. I like it. I like the workflow. It's pretty intuitive. Either one, you're gonna have some learning curve. You're gonna spend a little bit of time getting to know the user interface, but learning both of them, I feel like Ableton's just a better option. So the user interface for FLstudio, it kind of works like a bunch of windows. So you're kind of dragging windows around, and you can close each section or open it up. There's hotkeys for these also, which, if you learn the hotkeys and everything, then I guess you're fine. It's not really that big of a deal. The mixer is nice, but I don't like it at the same time. And I'll tell you why. So each one of these, there's no more returns. There used to be a return section over here. There's no more returns. If you want to return, you just make it. You you just you gotta hold Alt and press the arrows to move them over. But like say you want it in the front, right? You want it in the front, you're gonna put it there, you're gonna put what you want, and then say you want like this wobble to go into this, you would just click there, and then you could edit like how much dry or wet you want into it. So that's pretty nice. But once you start routing, like sometimes back when I was younger, I would route into a channel and then route that channel into a channel and then route that channel into a channel. Once you start doing those multiple routings where it goes like from one channel to the next to the next to the next, you're kind of introducing delay. So like you'll literally hear a delay between when the sound is supposed to happen and when it actually is happening. So it's kind of weird. It's kind of strange. Don't really like it. But it, you know, it is what it is. So you kind of figure that out, and you just do like one route. You'll just route it into one channel, and that's it. You won't start doing multiple routes like I was doing before. This, you know, I kind of like this, where it kind of looks like the old school drum machines. You know, you want to make a drum sample, but you know, I don't really use this anymore. You know, I usually just use piano roll because sometimes I want to get in between these steps. I want it to be like perfect. You know, if you're recording your stuff, that's fine, but if you're programming it in, this is a good place to start, but I don't really think it's probably the best option to do. Like, so right here, say if I wanted to edit these, right? I mean, you could do that. You can go into piano roll still and then edit these. So if you want it to be faster, you can. You would just have to go to, where is it, the snap, and you could change the snap to whatever you want, pretty much. It's pretty nice. Ableton is about the same with the piano roll and everything, so it's not really that different. But I don't know. I just feel like they could have done a better job with this, because this has been since like the first version. It's been like this, and as nice as it is, to just get something simple in there really quick. Sometimes I don't want to do something simple really quick. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I want to do something complex really fast. So I feel like this could be a little better. Let's see. What else? What's the next thing? I mean, this browser window, it's pretty standard. All these options up here, pretty standard. I don't really feel like there's anything, the UI, that is really going to have that much of a difference. Oh, you could set it to where you could drag these outside of the window. I kind of like, I don't know. I mean, setting up dual screens is kind of easier on Ableton because it's just a second window, and it opens up, it kind of toggles between both. So it's almost the same kind of window, but it just shows the other option. On FLstudio, you kind of have to like move things into place and get it exactly how you want it. So to each their own on that one. So let's talk about MIDI clips. So let's go back to Ableton. MIDI clips on Ableton, super easy. You make a MIDI clip, right? You got something going on. I'm not trying to make anything musical here. So you got something going on, right? Let's go back to the clip. So this is the clip right here. If I wanted to save it, I just literally just drag it over into where I want my samples to be. You can literally just save the MIDI clips just like that. You don't have to do anything extra. So that's actually pretty cool. FLstudio can't really do that. Can't really do that there. You can copy the MIDI clips onto, you know, different tracks or something. Like say so let's make this a MIDI clip, right? So now this is a MIDI clip. So if I want to take this and I want to copy it, I could just literally, you could do it through here. You could right click and go to copy, but I usually just say Control C. Everybody knows it. It's 2020. Everybody knows Control C, Control V. So you could just paste it into any one of these. This is on one pattern. So this pattern 2, you can keep going. But pattern 1. So if you wanted to, you could do stuff like that, or you could, cut this, go down to the next pattern, paste it in there, and now you got 2 separate things, right? So now you could put pattern 1 over here, and then pattern 2 on top, or whatever you want to do next to it, or whatever you want to do. Ableton, you can do the same thing. It's a lot easier. So like I was saying, this is the clip. You can just drag it over into another MIDI instrument. Like, you can't drag it over in these audio clips because it's not going to work. Like, you can't put MIDI data in an audio clip. Can't do that. But if you had another MIDI channel, like if you had another MIDI track, you definitely can just drag it over here into the other one, or copy it. Copy and pasting is a little different in Ableton and FLstudio, but once you get used to it, you get used to it. So let's see. External controllers. So if you bought anything for your DAW that's made for your DAW, like a controller, there's more Ableton controllers than there are FLstudio controllers. And that's just because Ableton's a little bit more organized, consolidated. Things are kind of like in the same order. In FLstudio, things are all over the place. So it's kind of hard. You have to like manually assign a parameter to a knob, or parameter to a button, or something like that. Like, you manually have to set those things in FLstudio. In Ableton, some of the things are already set up by default if you have an Ableton controller. So as soon as you select the track, as soon as you click on an effects rack, you have access to all 8 of these right here. So it's actually pretty nice. I like it. I feel like if you're going to be using external controllers with your DAW, and you really that's what you want to do, then you really should get Ableton. FLstudio, you can do it. It just takes a lot of time to set all that up. And then once you get your project, you might like it for that project, and then the next project you want to do something different. You're going to be setting up different stuff. So I guess if you want to be like fully customizable, FLstudio is the way to go. If you don't want to be fully customizable, you just want it to work right out of the box, Ableton's the way to go. You can still do a lot of stuff with Ableton. That's not, like, it's not to say you can't set up MIDI with Ableton. You can. It's just that I feel like if you're doing automation or controlling any kind of things, I feel like FLstudio just does a better job. Okay. Audio trackers. I don't know if I already mentioned this, but the audio tracker is this portion of the DAW. I like FLstudio's a little bit better. Not saying that Ableton's is bad. I just feel like, I don't know, like there's not too much. Like, I feel like I can just navigate FLstudio's tracker window a little easier. Like, you can go up and down, you can go in and out, you could make it smaller, zoom into this little part, like with the scroll. It's just super easy. With Ableton, I mean, you can go left or right, but you like kind of have to do everything up here, and like that's kind of boring. Like, I don't know. It's just like I don't want to always do it that way, Like, it doesn't make any sense that I can't use the middle mouse button and click in here and move things around. Like, that just seems so simple that they could just add in, and it it'd be already up to par with FLstudio. I feel like you have to kind of dig into Ableton's tracker window a little bit more than FLstudio. I feel like I'm always clicking on something over here to get exactly where I need to be, which is fine. If you're used to it, you're used to doing it, you know exactly where everything's at, fine. No big deal, right? But if you're first starting out, like, you don't really want to be digging into options the whole time. So I feel like if you're just working with audio clips, FLstudio is not a bad option. If you're working with like everything, Ableton's good for a lot of other things. But if you're like making a song like this, like you're composing a song and you're working on it section by section, you're not really doing a bunch of looping or live performance or whatever it is, you're just straight programming and composing, then I feel like FLstudio is a little bit better. So oh yeah, and then also the audio tracker is where you're going to be doing most of your mastering, and right there it's kind of like a double-edged sword. If you already have third-party plugins, then FLstudio is better. If you don't have third-party plugins, like you don't have any paid software, you don't have any free software, Ableton's going to be what you want to do. Just their stock plugins are light years ahead of ImageLine. Okay, so reliability. So say you're working on a project. We're on computers, so it's not perfect. It's not going to be perfect. Things happen. Programs crash. We all know it. We've all experienced it. Ableton, I feel like, does a better job about recovering your projects after a crash. Doesn't really happen too often with either set of software. It used to happen all the time for FLstudio. Like FLstudio used to crash all the time, and then they updated it. Like when they did the Mac update, they revamped the whole program, and it crashes a lot less. Like every once in a while I'll get a crash, about as much as I'll get a crash on Ableton. So they're kind of even as far as how often they crash. But FLstudio, you can't really, like, when you try to recover your project, it just doesn't always work. Ableton, like 98% of the time, like there's still a little bit chance you won't get like the last change that you made or something like that, but most of the project's going to be there. And it'll ask you right as soon as you start it up again, hey, do you want to recover your project? So I like that. I really like that. So, because, we don't know when the program's going to crash. So when it happens, you want to know, like, hey, can I get my stuff back? So yeah, if you're worried about that, Ableton has a better crash recovery. Compatibility. That's going to be the next thing we're going to talk about, is compatibility. So if you own a lot of VSTs, if you have a lot of effects, if you have a lot of stuff, Ableton only accepts 64-bit VSTs. So if you have VSTs that you have that are only 32-bit, it's not going to work for you. You don't plan on using those, because they're not gonna work. Compatibility, I feel like Ableton has better compatibility with VSTs. They're not buggy. They work. I don't really have too many issues. Most of the time when I have an issue in Ableton, it's the actual VST. It's not anything that has to do with Ableton. With FLstudio, oh yeah, and Ableton automatically detects your VSTs after you install them. You don't have to go through extra steps to get your VSTs to show up on Ableton. On FLstudio, you definitely do. You definitely do have to go through extra steps. So say I wanted to add another plugin. After you install your plugin, you're going to have to go to more plugins, and then you're going to have to go to manage plugins, and then it's going to pop up this little window right here. And then from here, you're going to have to hit find plugins. It's going to scan the whole directory, and then you have to manually go through and find which one you installed. And if you're like me and you install the VST2 and the VST3, there's going to be double. You're going to have to click on one of them and choose which one. I'm glad they made it a little bit more transparent right here, because before it didn't show if it was VST2 or VST3 or if it was 32-bit or what. Now it puts everything into the same spot. You're able to load 32-bit VSTs into 64-bit FLstudio. So it's really not that bad. You should be running in 64-bit anyway. Gives you more RAM. Because if you're in 32-bit, you're limited to like I think it's 4 gigs of RAM, which is not. I mean, that's not a lot. So, you know, this is the thing. Like, if you want to have each one of these, you have to enable it, and there's 2 different ones. There's one is for the instruments, which is what I just clicked on, and then there's one for the effects. So if I want to add the effects, I have to go up here to more. I have to go to the mixer, click on one of these slots to add one, and then go to more plugins and do the same thing. But after you scan it, that other time, all this is going to show up. You don't have to rescan it, so you just have to literally just go in. They're going to be like a different color for the new ones, so you just mark the star next to the ones that you think it is. Pretty nice. All right. So, oh, one last thing is that I've experienced some weird things with FLstudio and some paid plugins. I don't know what it is, but they just act different. They just do weird things. They just, I don't know if it's the people that are making the plugins or if it's the people that are making FLstudio. But there are conflicts at some point, and it feels a little buggy. I don't really like it too much, but it is what it is. All right. So let's talk about exporting your tracks. You want to export your tracks. You're done. You're finished. FLstudio, if you want to export your track, pretty easy. Export, and you get to choose what you want it to be. You can export to quite a bit. There's quite a bit of options here, and then even after you click it, you get to save where you want it to be. So I'm just gonna do it there, right? Because that's where it is. And then here's all your options. And I don't know why it should just. I mean, when you click export, it should just ask you where you want to save your file, and then just bring you to this window. Because I mean, you're gonna select everything from here anyway. It doesn't really make any sense. But there's a lot going on here that you can change. It's really not that bad. I feel like has a lot of options for somebody who's, exporting stuff. You want to know the bit rate. You want to know the floating point. You want to know if it's mono, not mono. If you want to cut the remainder, wrap the remainder, leave the remainder. If you want to just do the pattern, if you want to do the full song, there's a lot of stuff going on here. And then there's the progress bar, like how long it's going to take. So that's actually pretty nice. In Ableton, if you wanted to, what's going on? Oh no. See, it's already buggy. I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know if it's because I'm recording or what. Oh well. Whatever. So if you wanted to export stuff in Ableton, you could still export the same things: WAV, AIFF, FLAC, MP3. It doesn't have OGG, but OGG is more for like video games, like old software. You don't really find OGG a lot of places, so you can convert to that if you need to. It's not really a big deal. All the exporting is about the same. The exporting is really not going to be that huge of a deal. I just feel like FLstudio just has more options right there in your face. When you're saving your files, so that's going to be the next thing we're talking about, is saving your files. If you want to save a project in Ableton, you can save a copy. Like, say if you made a change, but you don't know if you're going to like that change. I'm a person that saves like different versions of each track. So like if I make a big change, I'm going to save the next file. So just in case I don't like that, I can go back and change it. You can save copies in Ableton, but you have to manually rename them. So if you just wanted to save another version really quick, you can't really do that like really fast. You have to like type everything in. So, but I guess with as much time as you're saving everywhere else, it doesn't really matter that much. FLstudio, there's an actual option for saving another version. You click save new version, and it just puts the number next to your file name. You don't have to rename anything. It just automatically puts the next sequence. So if you're at version 9, it'll do version 10. So it's actually pretty nice. It just keeps going up and up. But that's about it. My overall thoughts. If you're if you're more musically inclined, you should probably get Ableton. If you're less musically inclined, if you're more of like a composer, you're manually putting in the MIDI tracks, I feel like FLstudio is better for you. Just make sure that if you get FLstudio, download some free plugins. Download free plugins, please. Because like 99% of their effects plugins are garbage. Do not use FLstudio's plugins at all, please. Please do me that favor. Do not use FLstudio's FX plugins at all. If you're doing any kind of mastering, I hope it's with like some free suite of software and not ImageLine's VSTs. So that's pretty much it. If you have a fast computer, FLstudio is still going to kind of slow down. It's going to hit a limit of how much it could do in one session. So you're constantly, if you're working with WAV files, you'll be okay. If you're working with audio files, audio loops, and you're not doing like VST MIDI stuff all the whole way, and then processing that VST, then you should be okay. I mean, it's not to say that Ableton doesn't have any limits. It's just you can do more. You could add more into Ableton and not really hit the CPU too much. I feel like Ableton's a better piece of software. It's more than twice the price of FLstudio. So if you're on a budget, and you don't mind using free VSTs and you're not that musically inclined, FLstudio is a good starter. It's a good way to get into it and understand what's going on, and have a lot of freedom. But definitely Ableton is the way to go when it comes to like actually recording something that you're playing, or if you're a looper type of person, like you have a loop machine already, then Ableton is definitely the way to go. So yeah, that's gonna be it. Really honest tech, that's what I would suggest. Make sure you spend your money wisely. Make sure you're getting what you need to get, and hopefully you guys make some cool stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing what new music has to offer. All right, thanks.